Hello and welcome. So today I want to talk about direct mail marketing, specifically how to set it up for your clients or prospects. Now, before you get started, you know, you want to really address something that really I see all the time in the marketing industry. Many marketing professionals they either dismiss direct mail marketing absolutely completely, or they simply don't really know how to set it up successfully or how to work it successfully. The reason for that, is pretty simple, really. Although it has the word marketing attached to it, direct mail marketing is actually far more sales focused than actually people realize. Many marketing professionals they're marketers. That's what they do. They're not really salespeople, and that distinction really matters. And that's because, the way salespeople approach direct mail marketing is completely different from the way marketers actually approach direct mail marketing. A salesperson automatically starts thinking about the entire journey. They think about the prospect. They think about the offer. They think about the follow-up process. They also think about the conversation that happens after the letter arrives, which is so important. Many marketers, on the other hand, simply think about, just sending the letters or mass sending the letters. And that usually, really, that's where things start to actually go wrong. One of the biggest mistakes I see people, is getting, a list of businesses and then just posting letters to just all of them, just a mass letter marketing. Um, that's not direct mail marketing. That's just really that's just really sending mail. Every single business should be qualified before a letter is ever sent. That is a must. You need to know whether they actually need what you actually do. You need to understand. You need to understand where the opportunity is. Um, and also, you need to understand, what is actually wrong with that business. How can you capitalize on winning that business? And more importantly, whether you can actually genuinely help them. Can you help them? And if you can answer those questions, why are you sending a letter? The second mistake is a big mistake, is the geography of actually the patch you're working in. Most marketing professionals today immediately try to target the entire UK or the entire state, or entire country, wherever you are. And, I believe that's completely the wrong move. Direct mail marketing is at its strongest when you use it to saturate an actual area. And that's usually a smaller area. What I recommend is always starting with a 25-mile radius around the business or where your base is, whether that's home, an office, or whatever that is. And then work that area properly. Build familiarity, you build visibility, you can build trust, and that all happens very quickly. Then, you can also, if you saturate that area, you can then move forward 25 miles at a time. And as you grow, your reach then grows with it. So you grow progressively as you move out. And by the time you're like targeting businesses further away, your brand is already stronger. So you're ready to cope with those businesses out of your area. The problem is today is that too many marketing professionals try to skip that process. They're trying to be everywhere before they become known anywhere, really. you know so now let's talk about what actually you need to offer in direct mail marketing, with your clients. The first thing is a way of actually capturing those businesses. The second thing is really a method of qualifying. The third would be how to organize from qualifying, organize your direct mails and how to do that correctly. The fourth would be your follow-up system, and the fifth, which is so important, would be your strong offer. Most people focus on the letter, and in reality, the letter is the one part of the process. The entire system actually matters. In fact, if I had to identify two most important parts of direct mail marketing, it would have to be qualification and the letter itself. Now, so let's start with the qualification. You know, Qualification is it's everything. It is more important than volume, that's for sure. Direct mail marketing is not about who sends the most letters, it's about who sends the right letters to the right people. The second part is the letter itself. Now, the letter needs to be personable. It needs to have that personal touch. It needs to demonstrate you've done your homework on the business. One simple example, is something like mentioning the competitors, maybe 3 local competitors, or another is highlighting specific opportunities that you've identified. The prospect should immediately think, this person has actually looked at my business. And when that happens, that builds trust. And that level of personalization builds that trust and grows that trust. And that trust will get you responses. So now let's talk about offers. During our research, we tested more than 50 different offers. Eventually we narrowed it down to 5 that consistently provided leads and clients. One thing became very, very, very clear. Your offer needs to have structure. First, it needs to have a frame. For us, it was we tried 45 days, we tried 60 days, but for us we worked to a 30 days, and in that 30 days we found that worked the best. It was the best formula. So in that 30 days, you'd have week 1, which would be your direct mail and delivering that direct mail. Week 2 would be a revisit by face-to-face, and week 3 would be a follow-up call, and then week 4 would be a follow-up email. Then after that, we would then log them for 6 months, and then they would go back into the qualification after 6 months. This process really, really matters. One of the key aspects of this process is a revisit on the second week. You're delivering mail on the first week, and then you come to the second week and you're revisiting that prospect. And what that does, it builds trust very, very quickly. Not only it builds trust, it actually indicates to the prospect that, hang on, there could be actually something quite valuable here. And we found, based on doing that, in week 3, we found that we had the most turnaround and the most generation of prospects in week 3, because we were delivering the direct mail, possibly having a conversation on the first attempt. More conversations come on the second attempt, and if they didn't come on a second attempt, then the third week would be a follow-up call, and we would have communication at that point. That sort of follow-up process also allows you to follow up the prospects. It gives you an opportunity to follow up the prospects. And if it gets to week 4 and you haven't had any communication, and you send your final follow-up email, therefore after, if no communication has been made, you cut off, and that's it. 4 weeks process, and that's it. That is the system. Most agencies, underestimate the power of direct mail marketing. They think the letter is the actual campaign, and it really, really isn't. The process is the campaign. Each week builds on the previous week. Each touch point increases familiarity. Each interaction increases that trust, and trust creates opportunity. And during our marketing industry research last year, we actually built a marketing agency specifically for research purposes. So we lived through it. We found the data. I already knew, how to work direct mail manually. I'd done it for 20 plus years, working for global businesses as a strategic business developer. So I've had many years of, testing what actually really works. So I hope this has helped. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves.